Hey fighters, you're watching WrestleWire 24/7, your go-to for everything WWE. Subscribe, tap the bell, and let's dive deep. The December 8th, 2025 episode of Monday Night Raw delivered a moment that will be remembered for years. What started as a standard evening of wrestling action quickly turned into a revelation that reframed the entire story of the past 5 years. The identity of the masked figure from Survivor Series was finally revealed, and the confession that followed wasn't just a plot point. It was a challenge to everything the audience thought they knew. For fans who had spent weeks speculating, the reveal offered not only answers, but also a profound shift in perspective. This wasn't merely about who attacked CM Punk or who was hiding behind a mask. It was about the way a singular vision can reshape reality itself. The atmosphere of anticipation. From the opening moments, the episode felt charged with tension. There was a weight to the air, a lingering sense of anticipation that hadn't been present in weeks. Every segment carried with it the subtle unease that had been building since Survivor Series. The audience wasn't just watching wrestling matches. They were witnessing a narrative unfold in real time, one that demanded attention to detail and thoughtful observation. Each promo, each backstage segment, each entrance felt like a piece of a puzzle that had been slowly taking shape, and the crowd knew something monumental was about to happen. The arrival of Seth Rollins. When the familiar music of Seth Rollins echoed through the arena, it was immediately clear that this was no ordinary entrance. The melody, familiar yet transformed, had been slowed and given a haunting, almost funerary quality. Rollins appeared not with his usual flamboyant energy, but with a measured, deliberate presence, the kind that conveys gravity and intention. His walk to the ring was slow, deliberate, and heavy with symbolism, as if each step carried the weight of past decisions and future consequences. The purple light stretched long shadows across the stage, creating a visual metaphor for the darker, more reflective side of his persona. A shift in tone. Once in the ring, Rollins' demeanor marked a dramatic departure from the man fans thought they knew. Gone was the manic energy, the sarcastic wit, the playful taunts. In their place was a quiet, deliberate focus, a sense of purpose that demanded attention. He picked up the microphone, and the arena fell into a hushed anticipation, sensing that what would follow was significant. He spoke slowly, carefully, letting each word resonate. For weeks, the fans had been searching for villains, suspects, and conspiracies. They had speculated about authority figures, mercenaries, and hidden agendas. Yet Rollins revealed that the story had been misunderstood. The focus had been on the wrong question all along. The real question. According to Rollins, the real question wasn't about an attack or a mystery. It was about devotion and the lengths someone might go to protect what they loved. This reframing transformed the narrative from a simple whodunit to a philosophical reflection on passion, loyalty, and the personal stakes involved in the wrestling world. In his words, it wasn't about destroying rivals for personal gain. It was about challenging the system to ensure the survival of the art form itself. Rollins positioned himself not as a mere antagonist or protagonist, but as someone willing to act in service of a larger vision, one that demanded risks and sacrifices. The reflection of the mask. When Rollins recounted the events at Survivor Series, he reframed the infamous masked attack as a deliberate act of statement rather than simple violence. The stomp, the precision, the calculated timing, Everything was meant to convey a message. The mystery figure in the cage wasn't a separate entity. It was an extension of Rollins himself. He forced the audience to see the act not as an anonymous crime, but as a reflection of his own identity, his commitment, and his philosophy. By confronting the fans in this way, he blurred the lines between persona and reality, leaving everyone to question not just what they had seen, but how they had interpreted it. The crowd's reaction. The arena erupted in a mix of astonishment and contemplation. The fans, initially shocked, began to grasp the depth of the reveal. The intensity of the moment wasn't driven by spectacle alone, but by the intellectual and emotional layers Rollins had introduced. It was a demonstration of storytelling that respected the audience's intelligence while simultaneously challenging their assumptions. The reaction wasn't just about excitement, it was about the realization that everything previously accepted as fact within the storyline had been reframed by a single, deliberate perspective. The philosophical undertones. This episode of Raw wasn't merely a wrestling show, it was a meditation on legacy, influence, and creative control. Rollins's confession forced the audience to consider the nature of heroism and villainy. Was he a disruptor or savior? A madman or a visionary? By presenting the events as part of a calculated plan, he elevated the narrative from simple entertainment to a commentary on the cost of innovation and the struggle to preserve what matters most. It reminded fans that wrestling is more than moves, matches, or rivalries. It is an art form, one shaped by individuals who dare to challenge expectations. The impact on storytelling. The implications of this reveal are vast. Every storyline, feud, and character arc from the past 5 years can now be revisited with this new understanding. What previously seemed like random events now form part of a carefully orchestrated mosaic where each incident contributes to a larger vision. This approach to storytelling rewards long-term fans, inviting them to analyze, reinterpret, and appreciate the subtle connections that were previously overlooked. It also raises the stakes for future interactions, promising that the actions of Rollins and those around him will continue to be imbued with layers of meaning and consequence. Anticipation for future developments. As Raw concluded, the audience was left with more questions than answers, but the excitement was of a different kind. It was a curiosity rooted not in speculation about who might win a match or who might betray whom, but in the philosophical and emotional resonance of the story itself. How will Rollins' vision influence the WWE Universe going forward? How will those affected by his actions respond? And what narratives will unfold as a result? Fans are now invested not only in the outcomes of matches, but in the evolution of a character whose motivations challenge them to think critically about loyalty, ambition, and artistry in wrestling. Redefining the wrestling experience. The December 8th episode of Raw will likely be remembered as a turning point, not just for Seth Rollins, but for the entire approach to WWE storytelling. It demonstrated that wrestling can transcend its traditional boundaries and become a canvas for character, philosophy, and long-term narrative complexity. Rollins' revelation showed that the power of a story lies not in immediate shock value, but in the careful construction of meaning over time, rewarding those willing to engage with the narrative on multiple levels. Conclusion. Art over villainy. By the end of the night, it was clear that Monday Night Raw had delivered more than a plot twist. It had delivered a lesson in perspective. Seth Rollins had reframed his actions not as chaos or revenge, but as deliberate, meaningful choices made in pursuit of preserving what he loved. Fans were left to consider whether he is a hero, a disruptor, or something altogether new, a figure whose influence challenges the very structure of the universe he inhabits. For those watching, it was an unforgettable reminder that in wrestling, as in life, the line between creation and destruction is often thin, and the individuals willing to walk it leave the deepest marks on the canvas of history.